Alrighty. So it looks like the round is just about starting here. And yeah, kind of scarfing down a little bit of food right before this round starts. And NA45, it has been an absolute delight to treat to cast with you. Words are hard, but it is going to be a Draven versus Draven finals. I do know it is Miracles on the right-hand side, and I believe it is Detonate Draven in the finals here. So.
Okay, that's new. That's interesting. I like to hear it. It does mean that we will get something a little bit different, at least for our stream monsters, but it is still Draven versus Draven. So.
Yeah. I mean, at least it's not Andrew versus Andrew. Imagine if it was Andrew D versus Andrew D. That would have been...
Andrew on Draven versus Andrew on Draven was a spectacle.
That was...
Imagine if they were playing the same version of Draven, too. That would have been funny.
That would have been pretty funny. Do you know who won, though?
Andrew on Draven.
Huh.
Yeah.
Go figure.
I'm a smart guy, sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are these sleeves? Oh, it says Dragon Ball.
Those are his custom sleeves.
No, I don't mean the one in the middle. I mean his deck.
Custom sleeves.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
All of his sleeves are custom.
Really?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, I like the, is that the rune deck? It's like two Saiyan hairs. It is Saiyan, right? That's the word?
Super Saiyan. No, you're right. Yeah, it's just Saiyans.
Yeah, I haven't actually watched DBZ, though I did read the first, like, just Dragon Ball. I read Dragon Ball.
Were you not from the 90s?
My parents didn't let me watch stuff as a kid. They thought I was, like, evil. So, yeah.
That's fair.
I will say I did watch some of the early Pokemon because we have some of the VHSs of them, like the Squirtle Squad and stuff.
Dude, Squirtle? Okay. Squirtle Squad was great.
Yeah, good stuff, good stuff.
Okay, weird side note, but have you ever heard of Turtle Squad?
No, what on earth is that?
Or Lizard. Is it Lizard Squad or Turtle Squad? I can't
Lizard
remember.
Squad? Isn't that like, is that a hacker group or something?
Yeah. Okay, you have. Yeah, what they did is they DDoSed, what was it, Bank of America, and then got arrested by the CIA.
Well, I guess the CIA does do things sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, they did what they were supposed to.
Yeah, so this is going to be, I believe, Detonate versus the...
Versus Miracles.
Okay, a Nocturne was hit. That does gotta feel good. You do start down a rune, but 4 power is a lot. Sorry, 4 might. I'm so used to saying power, because in other card games...
It's power level.
You know,
know?
something like that.
His power level's over 4.
That's a lot of power.
Well, his is exactly 4, but you know. Draven's is over 4, technically.
So stack deck played out, and Koko does not actually have a 2-drop, does not have anything, so the Nocturne going to go in free.
Yeah. And if he has a, whatchamacallit, scrap heap, then he will be able to draw an additional card off this on Warrens as well.
Yeah, the double Zon is quite a aggressive turn 1, or turn 1, game 1. I expect to see a lot of cycling. I think Koko is deciding if he does want to fight or flight this year. And it looks like opts to not. So going to discard.
I actually think he's faking it. I don't believe he actually has a fight or flight in hand.
Ooh, some bluffing. I do like some bluffing.
Yeah.
That is something underutilized by players, but you do need to do it in a way that is not just stalling the game, right? You do need to. Can't take too much time on it.
Oh, no, there was. Okay.
Okay, there was? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I do like bluffs, especially in these final matches where these players are obviously very, very good, and they're going to be playing around things. So
it's actually really cool because he hit the Nocturne off of the stack deck. That Nocturne represented 3 points because he can just gank it over if he wanted to. Oh, he could also just go like fan up and pull back the Nocturne, but like that's a lot of points by 1 unit on the first turn.
yeah, I would like to see him gank over onto the other Zon Warrens. He will be forced to discard yet another card, but it does feed that the Fizz as well as the Rasa, which I don't think he quite yet has in hand. So we'll have to see if he decides to do so. But regardless of the fact, Right now, Andrew is just deciding what he wants to do with the rest of his turn. And instead, he is just going to pull back this Nocturne. Oh,
See, I was thinking you can push up the fan onto the other one and then just pull back the Nocturne because the fan is not a super fun target to go after. It does mean that you can't win a combat versus it because it'll always just kill itself
yep.
at worst. So no draws, no gold tokens.
No draws, no gold tokens, but at least you do get rid of that fan.
Yes, absolutely. So that does get the unit off the battlefield. Andrew in the tank here. No Ezreals yet. No Ezreals, no Seals.
Andrew does have both the Seal and the Ezreal in hand.
Nice.
And if you are paying very close attention, you can see it just kind of feigning
wow.
off the background there. So going to go ahead
wow.
and spend all of his runes, just go and commit to that second Zon Warrens that he just played that Overzealous fan at, and make Koko Lopez really have to think about whether or not he wants to commit to that battlefield. So Koko going to go ahead and use his stack deck, going to find himself a Seal of Discord, and really be off to the races now.
All right, so still a lot of cards to work with here. You know what's interesting to me is Andrew has discarded his Fizz every game on stream. He has not actually played the Fizz once, has he?
No, the Fizz in the Draven, I feel like in the Miracle Draven list is not nearly as good as it is in the Ezreal list, because in the Ezreal list you have things like Arcane Shift, Wages of Pain, which are just incredibly impactful spells. Whereas, like, getting a called shot or a stacked deck, while nice, isn't really, generally speaking, pretty, very game worthy.
I think that's a good call out. And so the stacking of the units onto the second Zon Warrens does dissuade Koko from pushing up onto it, even though there are a lot of runes available. Still opts to instead go for the other battlefield. I think I see an Ezreal, a called shot. Ezreal coming down, or at least looks like he's deciding if he would like to do this.
Yeah, I would like to see this Ezreal here. I mean, he's not going to be able to utilize it too much as of yet, but, I mean, the Miracle Draven list doesn't really have room for cards like Falling Star, so he isn't really too threatened by it.
We know Andrew plays they do see each other's lists, so he does know that Andrew does play the Piercing Lights. I don't know if we saw the Piercing Light in game 1, though.
I think it's a sideboard card, yeah.
You think it's a sideboard? I don't remember if we did see it in game 1 or not, but that would be a something to keep in mind, because a Piercing Light here would go pretty hard, take out the Draven and the Ezreal.
That would be pretty devastating, yeah.
All right, so
now
here, a lot of cards in hand. Wow.
We do see Piercing Light on the side of Koko, though.
Yeah. I like that card a lot in the Draven mirror match. I think it's such an incredibly powerful card, and it does hit that very important 4-might threshold. And because it can hit the second unit anywhere, you do have the option to get around stuff like fight or flight, like we did see Andrew actually do to a great extent in the second game. Was it the second game, I want to say?
Yeah,
the
it was the second
of
game
the previous match. Yeah.
So here we go with the stacked deck. Gonna go ahead and put a Noxus Hopeful into hand, and then finds himself another called shot potentially.
Yeah.
Nope. Gonna go ahead and put that on the bottom. I didn't get quite to see what that last card was, but regardless, a plethora of cards available to him.
Yeah, and I haven't seen a detonate yet, so this is detonate, right?
I was told it was detonate.
Okay.
But not by Koko himself, so I don't know.
All right, so playing out a hopeful and a battering ram here. That is a lot of might, both of them opting to build up their own battlefields. And a bit of a standoff, though I will say Andrew is in the lead here with 4 points. If both players do continue to hold battlefields, that does slow things down pretty considerably, though, as it's only 1 point per turn, still potentially at least 4 turns for each players. So I would imagine at some point in the next few turns, we'll see things switch up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with you here. I think that what Koko is trying to set up is just this Piercing Light, but didn't really want to recycle 2 runes. Would much prefer to just hold off on that and recycle the 1 rune, pay that extra energy cost, and set up for that lethal play. So makes perfect sense for me.
The Ezreal Seal coming down for Andrew and discarding the last rites. Okay, that's a bit interesting because I did feel like he was maybe not prioritizing it, but he was utilizing it a fair bit in the previous Draven versus Draven matchup. Though maybe it is less useful specifically into the Miracle list because this is at least Koko is presenting a miracle list, even if there may be detonates and stuff in it. We haven't seen them yet. Andrew hasn't seen them yet. Though he should know the list, though, because, again, they did show each other their list at the start of this.
Yep. So Andrew just going to utilize these called shots, or this called shot, and is going to be forced to recycle 3 runes this turn.
Yeah, it's quite a lot.
Doesn't feel good, but
Battering ram to base. Checking his discard for a Rasa. Andrew is not happy.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Called shot, seal, Ezreal. That is 4. So just going to go ahead and pass it right back to Koko Lopez here. He's going to be able to bring himself up to 2 points and, well, continue to stack the cards in his deck. I mean, again, we still haven't yet seen those detonates fire off, but I mean, he's in a pretty good position, I'd say, overall. He's got a couple of fizzes in hand, has a plethora of card draw available if he so chooses, as well as that piercing light.
Yep, a lot of cards available, a lot of options here. This is one of the harder things, at least in my opinion, in the Draven Miracle Mirror match, is when you are both on these giant battlefields, and it's when do I change things? When do I start pulling things back? When do I feel the need to start going more aggressive? It looks to me like Koko's deciding here if he does want to use the piercing light, because he's pulled 4 runes with that 1 magical red rune out to the side. Maybe hit away a... the battering ram's in base, right? I can't... It looks
it's
like
in
it
the battlefield.
Is it on the battlefield?
Wait, are you talking about Andrew D?
Yeah, Andrews.
No.
Okay, so that is in the base. Okay.
Yeah.
So many units. Yeah, some deep thinking here. These turns do matter a fair bit. As we saw in the previous match, that one misplay can end up
costing a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what is cool about the piercing light is you can copy it with Fizz, though. So that might end up being a good way for Koko to clear out this battlefield, is you can go like a repeated piercing, and then on the next turn, maybe another repeated piercing.
I think that is going to be his game plan here. So actually, instead, just going to go right for that called shot. Just wants to be able to find some cards. He does have a second fizz in hand, so finds himself a Seal of Discord. We're going to send it right to the bottom and finds himself a 3rd Seal of Discord, I think. And then he's going to keep that one, so...
Let's pass it over. I didn't see.
No, I think he was just picking up his deck.
Okay.
Or hand, not his deck.
At some point, they're pretty similar sizes, so, you know.
Yeah, it's getting there.
You know what would be really funny, and I can't say I've ever done this, but imagine you had your deck, you've drawn so many cards, like you're playing Ezreal, and your deck is like 15 cards, and your hand is like 15 cards. Set them right now, you sit your hand down, and then you accidentally grab your deck.
Like, whoa, this isn't my hand.
All right, so piercing light is this a piercing light? He's holding it upside down.
No, I think he's just counting, doing some mental math.
That
looks like a Noxus Hopeful. Nope, Battering Ram.
Okay. So continuing to stack up this battlefield. Oh my gosh, that's so much might.
Yeah, these Nocturnes are going to prove to be quite the problem here for Koko Lopez. Just allowing them to stick around for one more turn might be a mistake, but, you know, I mean, he has managed to make it to the finals twice here at CCS for good reason. I mean, definitely one of the most feared players here in the tournament. I know a lot of the top players here are very afraid of him, so a very strong player indeed, and has some game plan that I think neither you or I quite have clear understanding of what it is yet.
Yeah, I mean, when you are a top-level player, you are thinking really far ahead, and I think it's sometimes a little bit difficult to conceptualize when you are not actually on the table, because you're thinking, okay, he has these many cards, he has... The information is a little bit more accessible to you, so you can make these dastardly plans and plan out the rest of the game, especially seeing as Andrew is creeping closer to the victory. I mean, 5 points, it's only 3 away, and has a army of Nocturnes and that fan there. I will say I think the board is a little bit favored for Koko, and knowing that he does have the piercing light in hand changes things a little bit too, because that does mean that a repeated piercing light, I mean, that's taking out at least 2 units, especially with the nocturnes, with the fan.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of those situations that you have to kind of really like analyze deeply. I would like to see him just get rid of these nocturnes on this following turn, because I think that if he lets these nocturnes gank over, they're going to do a lot of damage. And yes, they are going to go away, but not before they get to do what they're set out to do, which is hold the battlefield, take over the other battlefield when necessary. And right now, Andrew D is just considering all of the options available to him, counting out all the might that is available on Koko Lopez's side of the field. But there is 18 might, potentially 20 on that Draven.
Yeah, it is quite a lot, and the hit in there is especially scary because then you do need to, if you do go in, you run the risk of getting hit by like a fight or flight, and then you don't barely win, you lose, and then you lose everything, and then things get really, really rough. So Andrew really in the tank here. I mean, it's pretty important here that you don't end up overcommitting, that you don't end up making a small misplay that, as we saw, the small misplays end up just losing you the game. And did he just play double scrap heap? Wow.
Yeah, I mean, he has no way to discard right now and just no way to overtake that battlefield. And if he decides to pull back his units so that he can reconquer that Zon Warrens, it's going to be incredibly difficult to do so, as Koko Lopez has a hidden card. You have to expect it to be a fight or flight. And if he puts that Draven in there, you're very unlikely to take it back. So glad to see that Andrew understands he's in a precarious position, but not out of the game just yet. He can play down these scrap heaps, find something a little bit different to do with his turn. Doesn't have anything like a Traveling Merchant or an Ezreal to just pitch these scrap heaps as of yet. So instead, just going to, again, play those scrap heaps because he really doesn't have anything else he wants to do on his turn. He knows that Koko has a while before he's really going to be able to interact with that Zon Warrens, so Andrew just has to keep on holding.
I wonder if Andrew is perhaps forgetting. I'm not going to say forgetting because I'm sure it's in the back of his mind. He's a great player, a lot thinking out pretty far ahead, but maybe forgetting a little bit about the possibility of like a piercing light play, where the piercing light away almost all of the Zon Warrens. Like there is only double Nocturne. Is it the? I can't see what the second unit is. That the Draven? I think.
Yeah, it is the Draven.
Not double Nocturne Draven fan, which is not insurmountable, especially if you're moving 2 of those with the piercing.
Yeah. So now Koko.
And playing out so he does have a hard bargain in hand. I'd be curious to see when he drew that, because if he had it in his hand before he played the scrap heaps, well, and I mean you don't have enough to stop the piercing with like a repeated hard bargain.
Yeah, this is definitely a very difficult position here for Andrew. He understands that this might just be a game-losing line. I think this is one of those scenarios where he just kind of hoped that his opponent didn't have it, but, we have 20/20 vision. We knew that Koko Lopez was sitting on this piercing light for quite some time, and now Andrew feeling pretty bad about his position. I mean, he kind of, I felt like he needed to use these Nocturnes sooner than he did, and, well, because he didn't, he's going to lose both this Draven and this first Nocturne, which means that this second Nocturne really isn't going to be doing much.
Yeah, it does sink, and now the little standoff they had on the battlefields is pretty favored to Koko, especially considering that Andrew didn't develop at all on the previous turn. It was just play the double scrap heap, draw 2. If he had played, so if you don't play out the scrap heaps, you actually are able to double hard bargain that, right? So just a thought. And he could have just drawn into it off of the scrap heap. That's also an option.
I think he was holding on to it here, but I think this is one of those scenarios where he was just sitting onto these scrap heaps for too long, and he was like, look, I'm going to lose this game if I just try and hold on to these scrap heaps any longer. So I just have to hope that my opponent doesn't have the piercing light, because I lose to it anyways. And it could have been why Andrew was playing so passively these last couple of turns. He was trying to play around that piercing light, but understood that, Koko just has a way bigger line of effect that he can utilize than Andrew D. And so now this piercing light going to come down yet again with this Fizz, but here comes that hard bargain, like we had talked about, and it is going to be able to protect himself for just that a little bit longer, which means that Koko Lopez will be forced to pass the turn.
Well, I think he's thinking here if he wants to go up still with like the battering ram. But yeah, you are correct. Able to then reduce the. Actually, he did? I'm sure he paid the power for the piercing. I just missed it.
Yeah, I think he forgot to pay the power.
I'm sure chat's paying good attention is able to look that we cannot rewind, so it is a little bit hard to see with so many cards on the board, right?
Yeah, I mean, regardless of such, I mean, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not our responsibility.
Yep,
to
100%.
maintain the game state.
Yep. So fight or flight coming down. Looks like he is going to opt to pull back a battering ram with that. So then is able to push up onto the Zon Warrens with like a double battering ram. And what's cool here is the double battering ram would. Oh, well, maybe not. I was gonna say a double battering ram kind of wins regardless of what Andrew does, right? Even if you choose to push one back. But looks like they're talking here. Maybe Koko's talking to himself here.
Yeah, I mean,
Such a complicated game state with all these cards on the board.
absolutely. So it looks like this fight or flight is going to come down. I think he just wants to hold on to his Ezreal for just that little bit much longer. And while his opponent is fully exhausted, you know. Oh, there it is. Yep. He's nodding his head, which tells me that he did pay that power cost. So.
All right, gets the draw. And gets another draw because of the Zon ones and discarding a scrap heap. Wow, that is a lot of draw.
Yep.
So Andrew having a lot going on in the board right now. Just the Ezreal and the battering ram. Hopefully is able to establish something this turn, as again essentially passed his previous turn, which doesn't feel good when your opponent is continuing to advance the game state like this. It's going to be pretty hard to approach the big stacked battlefield, but I think it is possible to contest the other one, and you might want to go up to 6. And if he can do that plus establish a board, you can set yourself up for like the win on the double push. Though I can't say that feels like it happens that much like this. It feels like these miracle decks more are like push, and then you have this giant hold.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely correct here. Look, he is sitting on a ton of Rasa here. I think it's all 3 of them, in fact. So it might just be one of those cases where he's going to go ahead and play the move this battering ram as well as this Ezreal onto the Zon Warrens, allow the Ezreal to die. And then just discard that last scrap heap in his hand, draw 2 more cards, drop down all 3 of these Rasas, and then probably put down this battering ram as well, and then just try and play the hold game here. But instead, actually, Koko Lopez less threatened by this Ezreal. And then he is going to draw off the Draven trigger, then discard, draw an additional 2.
Yeah, so now I would expect the Rasas to come down in force. Just say I am going to play some, and nice, okay. Does have the stack deck here. I see a called shot, a battering ram, so potentially could be a really big turn here with a bunch of Rasas, a battering ram. We'll have to decide if he wants to play the base right, or if he does want to go ahead and try and threaten the battlefield. I think you are in a points lead, so you would be fine if you did decide to try and go for a big hold and say, hey, it's on you to move all your units over. That's on you. I'm just gonna sit here, and you have to deal with it because you are in the point lead. You can't afford to do this.
I wholeheartedly agree here. So he's looking at playing the second Rasa right now. He's already played that stack deck. That second Rasa would be the 3rd spell for the turn. And yep, gonna go ahead and recycle 1 rune. Oh, wait, did I do my math wrong? I think he only played 3 spells this turn.
I'm not sure. Too many cards on the board. It is a little bit difficult.
Yeah, my brain is melting.
And is it the 3rd Rasa?
I have to assume it is.
Wow,
Yep.
3 Rasa, 2 Battering Ram in 1 turn is crazy.
That is the literal definition of a miracle right there. 28 might able to be developed in a single turn.
Yeah.
And now Koko Lopez is very much threatened on what's going on the side of Andrew D. And so now on this following turn, I mean, he is going to be able to use that rebuke as well as that fight or flight to potentially even take over that Zon Warrens on this next turn. So Koko Lopez will have to play incredibly defensively to try and stave off the aggression that Andrew D has put forth here. Koko in a very precarious position, has a ton of cards in hand, but still might not be enough.
We'll have to see. I do like that he does have the board established. I think he has the other Fizz still. I'm not sure if he's discarded it. Again, too many cards have gone by, but you can do stuff like play the Fizz and then copy a Piercing again to try and ease it up. I will say, though, that's not going to be super effective against like the Rosses and the Battering Rams, whereas before, pretty good against the Nocturnes, not so much once you get into the higher might thresholds. I would expect this turn is if he does opt to clear that battlefield through combat, is start pulling stuff back. Either do it immediately this turn with like fight or flights, or do the slow pullback. But the one thing you do need to be a little bit careful of is Andrew does have the double Battering Ram Rasa still established in base. So if you pull back too much, the second Warrens is looking a little juicy. And if you don't take the other Warrens from Andrew, I mean, the game does go to 7 points, which is scary.
Absolutely. So Koko Lopez here trying to count everything that is on the side of Andrew D to see what his best avenue of attack is. And right now, defending feels very difficult. He does have 10, 16, 18 might still remaining on his side of the board, but with a rebuke as well as a fight or flight and a hard bargain in Andrew D's hand, it's going to be incredibly difficult to stop what Andrew D has in store for Koko Lopez on this next turn.
Yeah, this is a very, very, very spooky moment. So this is going to be make it or break it, I would say, is the decisions Koko makes this turn, because the game can end on the next turn. It looks like he right now is trying to do some math in his head and say, okay, well, if I do retreat this stuff off to deal with the other Warrens on the next turn, will I have enough? But opts to play the Rasa to base, okay, and here comes the hopeful.
So 22 might in total now, but again, you know, a rebuke as well as a fight or flight being placed onto that battlefield going to be very difficult to deal with on the side of Koko Lopez. But looks like another Noxus Hopeful very likely to come down. Actually, it's a Traveling Merchant that he's considering playing in the base. I think this is at this point just to be able to discard a card and hopefully find something better to do on his following turn. But because of this, feels a little bit afraid to commit it to that Zon Warren's battlefield, so going to place it in base. And that Rasa going to be the last consideration here.
Yeah, so he needs to make sure that he does have enough in base to attack that second Warrens on the following turn, while also defending, because again, if Andrew does take this second Warrens, the game is over.
Yeah, so 7 points going to be established here for Andrew D. Does manage to successfully maintain the hold on that first Zon Warrens and is now at 7 points. We'll have to see what his last card drawn is.
Yep, this will be where Andrew does decide if he wants to go for the hold or if he wants to go for the conquer. It is what? So 3, 6. How much did he say you calculated it? 4, 8.
10 because the 2 fizzes and the hopeful. 6 from the Draven. 4 from the hopeful. 2 from the Zon or the Overzealous fan.
Well, this looks like Andrew is bolstering up the Warren, at least for now. I guess he still can push in with a 3. That doesn't really change anything, does it? Because the Ezreal was coming in rested anyway, so might as well. The next turn is the end of the game in one way or another.
Yeah, I think I would have liked him to have not have developed this Ezreal here. I mean, it's 22 might, but you can push off 10 of it, and then it's 12 to 16. Your opponent only has 2, but I didn't see a hard bargain, so it might not have been a hard bargain, in fact. And
It's
Ah,
very scary to commit more runes to this because at that point, your opponent's hard bargain is coming into play.
yeah.
He's thinking. He's picking up three runes. What could 3 runes be for here?
Mm.
So he does have double Ezreal. I don't know if he has the piercing in his hand, but that does mean that the second use of the piercing is pretty cheap. Yep. Okay. So the piercing is being used. Going to pay.
He's going to have to pay the double power cost if he reduces the energy cost so that he can use this rebuke effect. And I like this actually quite a bit because now it forces the hard bargain out a little bit earlier than he would like it to be. And this means that, well, now Koko Lopez has to respond in kind.
Did he
Piercing
pay
Light.
3 plus 2 red?
Yes.
Okay. Why is it not?
I would like to see him
Isn't
just
it-
get rid of the battlefield here.
Shouldn't it be 2 plus 2 red? He has 2 Ezreal.
Yes, it should.
Okay. Okay.
Or it should be 3 plus
1.
1.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Opting to go for a hold and hides a card. So now the hard bargain is absolutely going to do something. It's either going to. I'm really surprised he targeted that battlefield with the piercing light when.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it felt like the better line was to just get rid of both the Noxus Hopeful and the Draven, and then, force him to use his hard bargain to deny the rebuke, because then at that point you do actually just win mathematically. And I guess even still, Koko Lopez just does not have quite enough in that gas there and was forced to play that scrap heap just to be able to draw a card, wasn't able to move that Traveling Merchant, and because of it, game number 1. Going to Andrew.
Yeah, good start from Andrew. It did go out to a strong start. That it all snowballed off of the stack deck into the Nocturne on turn 1. I mean, it was that Nocturne scored 3 points on its own, and at that point, he won by 3 points. So there you go.
Yeah.
It shows how impactful the early unit can be. Yeah, it did ended up not mattering, but that is something to keep in mind, right?
Yeah, I mean, these players are playing for, I think, what they've been playing since 9 a.m. It is now 5 o'clock.
And then
So they've been playing for 8 hours straight. I mean, I'm sure that Koko has made 1 or 2 other mistakes throughout the day, but, I mean, not even the judge was able to catch it. So, we're watching here from our ivory tower. We get to tune in and tune out whenever we want. We're going to catch those mistakes. They're in the heat of the moment. There's a lot going on. We got to see just how many cards Andrew and Koko were dropping down each turn. It gets confusing at times. It's just the nature of the beast.
Yep, that is the deal when you're playing these really combo heavy decks and you play for so long. It does a little bit of brain melting. And I think the other side of things is when you're playing. That is the benefit of playing some of these decks like Aurora, where your early turns, you don't really have to think. You can just go and you got like little happy song in your head and you're like, anyways, mobilize, catalyst, Aurora. Yay, so happy. Where your opponent is...
That is magical happy land.
Just imagine your opponent is that gif of the dude sweating while he's typing on his keyboard. As you are happily flipping over Mind Splitters and discarding cards. So maybe that's the tech. Just play Aurora.
Yeah.
Not have to think.
Me no think.
Me no think. That's what I like to hear. So it looks like players are almost ready here for the next game. I think Andrew's finishing up his siding here and now going into shuffling. And I think he's already presented his battlefield as well. Yep. So just waiting on Koko now.
Yeah, it's time to wait for Koko. I mean, I'm in a pretty happy position if I'm Andrew D. I got to have the early win, especially on the double Zon Warren's game. I think that's probably the most pivotal of the games to win between these two players. So Koko Lopez definitely on the back foot, but he's one of those players that, has played on the back foot many times and was able to take it in the last tournament against Kaiza, or on Kaiza, I want to say. I think he was on Kaiza.
Do not remember.
Because I believe Minwin was on the Annie. So.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. All right, we will have to see what is going to happen on the second game and what battlefields we choose to play, because I can only imagine that it is Targons for Koko and then the obelisk for Andrew. But there always is the little mind game of like, if you're gonna play obelisk, maybe I don't want to play. I don't know. It's something to think about. I personally don't really think about it that much. I just go, this is my going first battlefield. This is my going second battlefield. This is my game one battlefield.
Going third.
I like going third.
Yeah.
It means I went first. All right, so shuffling now and almost time to go.
Yeah, Super Saiyan Min, Super Saiyan Koko.
Yeah, pretty cool, pretty cool.
I like it a lot, honestly.
I wish I had cool sleeves. I just have like turquoise ones.
You can spend like an extra $20 to get your custom sleeves.
Yeah, I don't like dragon shields though.
Oh, is that?
I use
Dragon Shields?
katanas. Well,
I use katanas too, actually. They're so hard to get, by the way.
yeah, you got to get them from like distros and stuff if you want to buy cases of them.
You buy cases of them?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
it's not that much. It's like $200, but then it's like sleeves for over a year.
$200?
It's like how many packs? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That's more than an entire box worth of schmeckles you're talking about here.
I'll put it this way: they work for Pokemon decks, they work for Riftbound decks, and you can sleeve your whole collection. So, absolutely, I actually bought 2 cases. So,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, a lot of sleeves. Too many sleeves.
No, yeah, I was going to say 3 mini sleeves, but no, you
No,
bought 2 cases,
no.
so 2 mini sleeves.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
If you had bought 3 cases, it would have been 3 mini.
All right, so
Oh, okay.
starting off, making it simple, drop the merchant, and let's see if he does opt to play out the Draven. Yes, he does.
I reuse sleeves until they break. No, I don't know how you say your name, but you're not. It's not bad. I do the same thing. It probably is bad, but I do the same thing.
No, you guys are crazy. See, the moment my sleeves are not very slippery, chuck them.
So, what, like after 2 games?
Like one tournament.
This
Yeah.
man's crazy.
I like being able to hand shuffle really fast, and I can't do that if the sleeves are sticky. So
You know what stops you from having sticky sleeves, right?
what? Clean
Don't
them,
eat-
wash them.
No, don't eat candy and then touch the sleeves.
What? Okay, I did find that there was someone online. I was having an argument with someone because you know how online goes, right?
Yeah.
And someone said that they scrub their sleeves.
I mean, they're clearly trolling.
No, they were arguing for this. They're like, well, and they said that they take a little brush, they take some soap or some like dishwashing fluid, and they scrub their sleeves out.
That is a troll.
No,
That is a deep troll, and you fell for the bait.
no, I don't think so. I think I'm right. But anyways, so Koko ending up playing the Draven onto the merchant battlefield, saying, no, Andrew, you will not deal with this. So what is Andrew going to do? I see a couple stack decks, maybe find a Nocturne here. No Nocturne. Absolutely not.
Does find himself a called shot, so might consider just going for that for right now.
Yes.
So it looks like that is going to be the case. He might also have the Ezreal. Looks like he's got the double Ezreals, in fact. So going to put one down for now. Doesn't quite have that Seal of Discord to be able to mitigate this rune cost that is going to be quite costly, in fact. And he's going to get rid of a scrap heap. Going to be able to draw 3. Hopefully find himself that Seal of Discord. Looks like that is going to be the case.
I just think it was in this order, but
Well, I mean, he drew it off the...
yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. It does think that he did have to do it here, but that's okay. We have a called shot to play out anyways. Finds the Nocturne. So this is going to be a pretty expensive turn in terms of power, but can't be too unhappy when you get to establish this much.
Yeah. So I would like to see the Draven just go into that Obelisk of Power for the time being. I mean, it's not the greatest feeling in the world, but at least you can, utilize it in these coming turns. You do also have the Bushwhack as well as a couple other Ezreals to try and find something a little bit more impactful on these following turns. I'm not sure you're going to be able to find the opportunity to play this Brain here this game because of this turn. So I might like to see him just get rid of the Brain here. It doesn't feel good to discard it, but again, I'm just not sure you're going to get that opportunity.
See, I'm surprised he pushes up the Draven here because this does open up like a fight or flight the Draven back, and then the Draven's dead. and then you have to recycle even more runes, and at that point you're working with almost nothing. That being said, the Ezreal and Seals are online, and maybe you don't care. You're just like, oh, whatever, that's fine. I don't care. I have Ezreal Seals online. I can see most of my deck.
Yeah. So gonna go ahead and pay 2 power, recycle, and use the called shot. Does find himself a battering ram as well as a called shot off the top there. So 2 really powerful options on the side of Koko Lopez. He wants to decide whether or not he wants this battering ram for this turn. He has the runes to pay for it right now, but he might even just opt for the called shot. It doesn't feel good to play down because you are recycling a ton of runes to do so, but this called shot, being able to look at 4 cards, might just be worth that that pretty penny.
Yeah, Cold Shot's such a crazy card. I will say what's cool is that an invert timelines I see in the discard?
That is that is in the discard. So this is something that Prismaticism actually decided was very good for the Draven Mirror. He kind of showcased that you can use invert timelines to negate all of that, what do you call it, hand sculpting that your opponent gets to do. They get to like 5, 6, 7 cards in hand. You essentially discard 3 of them, but also get to get rid of a lot of their really important cards.
That makes sense to me. You play out your turn, you end up playing out all your battering rams, all your Rossas, whatever, and then you just say, all right, in my turn, invert timelines, and you have 4 random cards. I hope they're the good ones.
Yeah.
And they probably will not be because you've already picked all the good cards from your deck with the stack decks and the called shots and etc. So yeah, I like it too. It's very cool if you can combo it. This isn't something Draven would do, but this is something you could consider in like Ezreal is comboing it with stuff like Downwell. It's a cool little interaction.
So Koko here considering playing the Hopeful in that Targon's Peak. Instead, we'll potentially opt to play it in the base. And that will be the second spell that he plays for the turn. No, third spell, rather.
Yes, 2 called shot and the Hopeful. So that does open up a couple battering rams.
He's got all 3 in his hand here, so...
Actually, that is all? You could play all 3 of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you did want to.
So he's going to use the 1.
Is there a downside to playing all 3? I guess if you're trying to hold runes for something else, but...
I don't see the downside between playing these 3 battering rams, so it looks like that is going to be his...
Nope.
Nope. Going to go ahead and drop down the spinning axe, keep it out of that...
Piercing light range?
Yeah, that piercing light.
Did he pay the power for that?
I don't think he did.
I don't think he did either.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I don't think he thinks he did either. So...
All right, good catch, good catch. Down to 3 runes. This was an insanely expensive turn as well. So they kind of went back and forth with it. Like, I'm going to pay 6 power in a turn. You're going to pay 6 power in a turn.
Yep.
All right, battering ram number 1. Number 2.
Number 1, 2.
And now number 3.
Number 3, 2.
Number 4, 2. And a hide. Wow. Okay. Down to 2 runes.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Oh. What?
What?
Okay.
Yeah, he just hit it. So, all right. Said, I'm going to build my board, and I don't care what you do, and I don't need runes after this because you really
Who
don't.
needs runes when you don't have cards?
Yeah. Well, not only that,
I think that
but
last card in hand is his Rasa, so just wouldn't have been able to play it anyways.
oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Well, he has a. Oh yeah, he does. He only has 3 cards in the discard. So once all these units start dying, then sure.
Yeah, it's gonna be a while.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine Andrew's going to be doing too much to them here unless he does opt to play like a piercing light repeated. I don't see one though.
Maybe we ban Chaos Rune.
That would be pretty funny. And then eventually in set 3, Riot reveals Chaos Rune 2 that, you know, instead of recycling it, you just tap it. Yeah. And they're like, well, that was fun while it lasted. Anyways.
Yeah, we were like, you know, Chaos didn't have enough.
No, true. Good point. Is that okay? Bushwhack discarded, right? Yeah.
Yeah, to the Ezreal, yep.
Okay. I was gonna say, what sort of madness are we cooking up here? What kind of big push? But no.
The big push is Ezreal.
Yep. I don't think we are going to be doing too much here. I mean, that is a pretty formidable battlefield, and he has a lot in base. It would be pretty hard to actually contest or hold on to this battlefield in the next turn.
Yeah, so it does look like there's another scrap heap in his hand. So he's got. Oh no, it's a hard bar.
Oh, he does have the piercing light. Okay.
Yeah.
Can't imagine you'd use it here though.
Nope, just gonna pull back this Draven and pass the turn. So a little bit too afraid of what's going on the side of Koko Lopez, which is absolutely fair to say. Koko has a ton of power, and Andrew does not have a ton of energy to work with. So, yeah, I mean, I'd like to see him potentially just move in this Draven onto the Obelisk of Power for the time being, but instead just going to go ahead and discard that Rasa from last turn. And, yeah, we'll see what happens on the side of Koko Lopez here, because I do think he needs to get a significant enough of a parity lead. He is at 4 points, but I think he'd much rather be at that 6-point threshold.
He's at 3 points, right? He can go the 4 points, and I imagine he will. But, I mean, only 4 runes. I mean, plenty of time to build them up, right? He doesn't have to actually do too much to the board, as he has infinite power on the board. Sorry, I just said it too. Infinite might on the board.
Infinite power.
Infinite power.
He's not Victor.
No, that's a Fat Rat song. The Fat Rat. It's a
Mine was an arcane joke.
what I was singing was a song. Tisk tisk tisk.
We're on 2 different levels right now.
All right, Koko deep in the tank here. All right, playing 3 here. Finds the fizz. Okay. Play out maybe a called shot or the invert. Ooh, that is rough.
I like this fizz play a lot. So
I think you have to. You have
to hard bargain here. So that is going to be the case. And now Koko Lopez is in even deeper trouble in terms of hand quality here. So yeah, just gonna go ahead and consider what he can do. Just gonna try and maintain his game state position. Might even just go ahead and reinforce the battlefield of that Targon's Peak. But yeah, I mean, he doesn't really need any runes just because he has nothing he can do right now. So it's fine to just go ahead and recycle those 2 runes anyways. He doesn't have any Seals of Discord regardless, so not really going to be doing too much. Instead, just going to move in these Battering Rams, bring 10 Might onto both sides of the battlefield, and still has that Draven in the back line to protect.
Just in case. All right, so this will probably be a turn where Andrew decides to push. I mean, Koko has next to nothing backing up the board. So mind you, if the board dies, I mean, Koko's in a really bad spot. So if Andrew can pierce together a turn with like the piercing lights and such, I could be pretty strong. Could go even like a piercing light to try and clean up the Targon's Peak. I think it's just a Battering Ram plus a Noxus Hopeful, and then obviously the hidden, right? But I think it actually is probably possible. We'll have to see what he does have access to, though. I would love to see like a Fizz Piercing Light and just wipe everything. Because he does have double Ezreal, so the second Piercing Light is almost free. So the repeated Piercing Light is almost free.
Yeah, I mean, he does have this double fight or flight. He knows that Koko doesn't really have anything that he can do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, instead just going to go ahead and keep playing down these Ezreals. Really wants to be able to utilize that draw while it is available. So just going to get rid of this Nocturne, find 2 more cards instead, and continue to bolster his backline. And now this Piercing Light really only costs 2 and a power.
Yeah, and if you repeat it, or if you play it with Fizz, it just costs a power for a repeated.
That's true.
Yeah. And here comes the first one. So opting to pay the repeated, and let's see what he does decide to go for. If you do go for the Targon's Peak here, there is potentially a fight or flight, right? So I think it might even be worth to go for the Obelisk and then just say 4 on each, and then you could trade in. Oh, okay, nope. So it does decide to put a trigger onto the Hopeful. So trying to actually weaken up this battlefield a little bit. Now you do open yourself up to like a fight or flight back onto the Noxus Hopeful. to save it, as I believe both of the battlefield triggers are on it.
Yep. So I think Koko's okay with this. I think he'd much rather protect his battering ram than this Noxus Hopeful. Because if he does just leave this Noxus Hopeful up, well, there is more than enough power on that board there, including that Draven, to be able to answer what is happening. So I think Koko's okay with letting this Noxus Hopeful die. I think he'd just much rather protect his battering ram. So considering just popping it right now, but instead actually is going to try and protect.
So he flipped it, and now he's, I guess, talking it out to himself.
Must be, yeah.
And if there is any time to go through all of the options and make sure that you are doing things correctly, it is now.
So Fight or Flight showcasing exactly how powerful of a card it can be. You wouldn't think that the hidden makes it so strong, but the hidden does.
Yeah, the hidden mechanic is really interesting because it kind of limits the power they put on a card that has a hidden, right? Because otherwise you can just say, hey, I'm using this for near free.
Well, I mean, clearly not.
Yeah, that is true, but...
And then they were like, switcheroo, we're going to make it cost 2 power unless it's hidden.
Okay, so he opts to actually save the battering ram there, which means that if... And Andrew doesn't have the energy for a fizz, so there will be no repeated...
I like this a lot, actually. So the reason why I like this a lot is it denies the draw from the Draven Legend, right? It lets the Hopeful die, but you know that the battering ram is going to die regardless this turn.
Well,
if he does try to protect the Hopeful,
yes,
right? Because there's only 5 might, so then therefore this Draven can just go in and overpower him. He has no way to deal with that, in fact. So just going to go ahead and send a Nocturne in, bring himself up to 3 points, and allow Koko that freedom to continue to bully this this game.
The scary thing here for me is that this does mean that you've pushed up the Nocturne. You kind of have to reinforce this now, or you're going to be giving draws over the Koko. And Koko has no cards, so you really don't want to give him more cards to work with. As there is like a battering ram plus a 7 might Draven in the base. So now you're kind of forced into reinforcing. Unless you opt to hide, which, I mean, you could hide a single fight or flight. I imagine that's probably the... At this point, I think we can say that and ambush are like the only... Sorry, ambush. Ambush. Bushwhack. Bushwhack is a hidden.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. My, the only reason I know this is because it came up in a Runes and Rift game.
Huh. Oh, I see it now, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was an action, not a hidden.
Because this came up in a Runes and Rift game that I casted because he didn't have the runes to do the full line, so he hit it on one turn to bluff a fight or flight, and the next turn he just flipped it for free because he didn't want to go onto the bushwhack or onto the battlefield with a hidden because you'd expect it's the fight or flight, right?
Right.
So very cool thing that you can do with that. Looks like he does opt to defend the battlefield with the Draven plus a hidden. Wow, stack deck is a good top deck. Wow.
Absolutely. So does find himself a scrap heap, a Noxus Hopeful, as well as a hard bargain. And I think right now this hard bargain is probably his best bet for what he wants to be doing. So actually instead leaning towards that Noxus Hopeful. Yeah, I mean, just I guess setting up for these following turns. That damage is no longer there on that battering ram, so nothing to worry about in that regard. But yeah, Koko Lopez, considering all of his options, going to take some time to think about it here. And
yeah, I mean, I don't hate taking the hopeful, just saying I am in only a couple turns away from winning if I do win. So picking the card that's immediately going to help me keep my board established and keep myself in this winning position, because the moment he ends up losing the board, I mean, at least with the current way the game is looking, the game is kind of over. So he wants to maintain his board, and picking cards that he can play because he doesn't have a lot of runes to work with that also help keep the board, I don't hate it. Not at all.
I tend to agree with you here. So, look, there's only 3 Ezreals on the side of Andrew D that can really defend, if you will. But if he does do something like that, that means that, well, he has to figure out a way to overtake this battlefield. And when by that, I mean Andrew So yeah, Koko just considering playing on that defensive route, saying, "Look, this game's going to end in 3 turns if I go this route, but at least I have the most options available to win." So considering that as his avenue of attack, we'll just spend 2 here and instead just continue to play towards base, but allow that battering ram onto that base. So 15 might has to be the case here. Andrew D cannot just gank over and send in those 3 Ezreals. Has to figure out a little bit more just to get over this.
If it is a fight or flight, it does become a lot easier. And what is kind of cool as well is the rebukes become way higher value here when Koko has almost no cards, is because it's pretty much impossible to chain cards that replay the battering ram for nearly free. So the rebukes become really high value here. I believe that is a hidden fight or flight. So if he does want to, he can still send both the Draven and the Nocturne over. That is a possibility as you just retreat the Draven with the fight or flight and then swing up Draven plus Nocturne ganking. If he does want to, again, that obviously does not need to happen here. He is pretty happy with his board. And it does look like Koko has kind of decided I am going to instead be fortifying the obelisk. All right, so this I imagine is the double piercing light turn. Or sorry, is going to be repeating the piercing light.
Yeah.
What is he going to do? So maybe just soften up the battering rams and then send a Nocturne over and clean up a couple of them? I wouldn't hate that at all.
It looks like it's going to be a Bushwhack
Oh, wow.
instead.
Okay, okay. So maybe he has some Rasas?
Yeah, I mean, this does make sense. I think he doesn't really have any. The piercing lights aren't really going to be doing enough for right now. So
Well, you
does
could-
have a battering ram as well as a couple of Rasas, or at least one, and can use that fight or flight that is hidden as another spell. So 1 and 2 Fizz and that Bushwhack have been developed. So 2 spells have been played this turn. That fight or flight would be the 3rd one. Rasa would be the 4th.
That's true. See, I thought that you would go for the other play because the piercing light plus the piercing light does clean the entire battlefield because you go 4 onto 2 battering rams, and then that is only 7 might of like damage left to do, and then you can go just gank over. Sorry, it's gank over with Nocturne and push up an Ezreal, and that clears everything. But this is good too. Has the battering ram in hand and a Rasa, so a lot of might on the board. This should be able to clear out if he does opt to go for that. I imagine you are going for that, seeing as you've committed the hidden, and now you have played out the Rasa and the Bushwhack, and I mean that's a lot of cards. Still 15 might to work to deal with though. He has what 12 with Rasa, Draven, plus battering ram that does clear it. You do need to keep in mind that there still are units in the backline, right? So you do still need to worry about those. And again, if you do set yourself up in a spot where you are losing your units, then Koko's going to get draws. And giving Koko draws gives him more plays for the next turn.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Koko or what Andrew spent the rest of his runes on, because he just exhausted a couple of runes but didn't actually use them.
It might have been the Rasa. He might not have 10 in discard.
Ah, okay. That would make sense.
See, this is why I really liked the other play better, because it doesn't cost anything extra, right? Like, you play... It's board. You literally go Fizz,
Piercing light.
Fizz, Piercing Light, weaken up the battering rams, and then you can go pull back the Draven. Sorry, you don't even need to pull back the Draven. You go gank over with Nocturne and send up an Ezreal, and that clears everything. And then you still have all your runes up, besides the Fizz cost.
Yep.
And you can just go establish the Rasa. You still have your Draven. You still have your hidden. You didn't have to use your hidden. Yeah. So, yep, going in and does opt to use the Draven ability. Take everything out. We'll get a draw off of this.
Yeah. And just going to go ahead and leave that Nocturne alone. So now his Koko's Draven is going to be able to answer the board, and Andrew is going to be able to tie up the score. And he has a plethora of cards as well as a much stronger backline. So Koko Lopez in a very, very difficult position. It's going to take a miracle, pun intended, if you will, for him to be able to come back.
Yeah, I actually don't think this is that bad for Koko now. I don't like this play really at all because now you can go, unless he chooses to fortify and maybe even hide, like you might have to hide your fight or flight here to really dissuade Koko from getting draws because now you can go. If this is how the board is left, it's just like push up Draven. That's a draw plus a gold. You can push up on the other battlefield, but you don't even have to. Like, right? You can just say, okay, I'm on 6 now. Right, so is he counting his discard for another Rasa? What? Oh, he must have drawn that off of the combat, I imagine. Otherwise, there's no reason you're just killing your Draven off, right? So, yep, and then does choose to hide the fight or flight. So this is representing 10 plus a fight or flight, which makes the Draven a lot worse here.
Yep.
What is a little bit spooky is now Koko is still in the point lead, though, because he can just go up to 6 on the other and then full send on the other. Other one, I guess that doesn't really work because you have the fight or flight, so you can like fight or flight a Rasa back and then go Nocturne Rasa. So yeah, maybe not quite as much as I thought.
I'd be interested to see if Koko decides whether or not he wants to go for something like a double push if he drew into a hard bargain. Because then he could just send in both of his units, draw a card, force out that fight or flight, and then win with that hard bargain, and just like completely negate everything that Andrew wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then you also just get to eat an additional unit. That said, you do lose quite a bit here to do so. So, gonna go ahead and play this Seal of Discord. Finds himself finally a Seal of Discord. We know that the last card in his hand is an Ezreal, so we'll be able to draw 2, but definitely not in a great position.
Yeah, then that is not quite what you want to see, unless the last card in your hand is like a called shot. Do we know what it is? It has been so long ago since we saw his hand.
It's Ezreal.
Oh, it's Ezreal?
Yes.
Oh, that's actually a good one. Okay. If it's Ezreal, wouldn't you just slam it here?
I think he is bluffing something, but I'm not sure what it is yet. Yeah, I mean, he flashed the Ezreal, at least I thought,
Okay.
a couple of times, so...
I just feel like if it's Ezreal, you're slamming it, but you could absolutely be correct because you go Ezreal, and I believe how it works is you just draw 2, right? You don't have to discard because you don't have any cards in hand. And at that point, then you still have 3 runes to work with, and you have 2 cards. All right, so Koko thinking.
Yep.
I might have been optimistic when I said hour and a half finals.
Yeah.
Yeah, both players doing their absolute best to play out is... Yep, you're right. It is an Ezreal. Play to their absolute fullest, and so it does get a draw 2. The spinning axe is a good one. Absolutely.
Yeah, but he didn't need to exhaust 3 there. He only needed to exhaust 2 because he has that one floating from that die there, which is what it represents. But I think Koko Lopez right now has so many things, so many different things, rather, on his mind that it's difficult to think about everything he needs to do. So would like to see what those last 2 cards are.
That's crazy. That's actually one of the better top decks here because that represents like a permanent power increase, and it can also be a combat trick if you do choose to use it as so. So pushes up the Draven, I guess, asking, do you have anything you would like to... Oh, wow. I'm surprised you just fight or flight that. I guess you do want the draw is nice.
No, I like the fight or flight here.
I guess it keeps the axe on the Draven. That is true.
Yeah, it keeps the axe on the Draven, and it also just protects both of his units. And then it really just forces Koko Lopez to play on an awkward position here, or in an awkward position here. He doesn't want to commit this Fizz to the battlefield. He also just doesn't want to play that second spinning axe, but he might just be forced to do so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very, very difficult position to be in.
What, you're thinking he might just go like Fizz, hope? No, okay, absolutely not. So he's just going Fizz on to peak. Or not. Yep, Fizz on to peak, up to 6. Maybe try and set up a win push next turn. He has the axe. That's a good card for it. And we'll have to see if Andrew does walk into an axe on the Fizz. That could also not be good.
Yep. That definitely could be a scenario that Andrew faces. He's only at 4 runes, so both of these players absolutely starve for resources, but Andrew is on that rebuke, so...
We'll say Rebuke would feel pretty bad onto a Fizz, giving him back the Fizz. If he doesn't end up putting himself in a spot where he shoves up and then there is the axe coming down, right? Okay, so right here, I imagine he is trying to play around a fight or flight or a rebuke. So all of these would work into those. The spinning axe does not save it, so it looks like he will end up just trading with the Ezreal, which I think is fine at this point. I don't think Andrew cares too much. He has double seals plus the treasure hunter, and the game treasure hunter and a gold token. Near this end game, the repeat, unless you're playing a lot of repeats, that's not really going to matter too much. So maybe going a full hold here. I see a rebuke in hand. I see a bushwhack. I see
Brinier.
Oh. Does he have a height? That's the bushwhack. See? It's actually coming up. He is threatening a bushwhack height. That being said, it's a bit of a fake one here because I think if you are Koko, you just have to say, like, you don't
You just
have
have
it.
to ignore it, yeah, at this point. You can't play around it, so you just have to hope that your opponent's playing a bluff. And I mean, I think fortunately for Koko, there is a bluff. I would have liked to have seen Andrew just use the Seal of Discord rather than the gold token, but that's just me.
Yo, what's kind of cool is Koko has his own bushwhack in hand. So if he is able to get a draw off of killing like the battering ram, there's a chance he could draw into like a unit that he can play.
Yeah, I mean, this rebuke is going to be very problematic to deal with here. So I would like to see Koko just go ahead and send in the Draven.
I mean, I think it should be like, is it like hopeful plus
9, 15,
traveling merchant?
19 might on the side of Andrew there, plus a hidden card. You assume it's the third and final fight or flight if you are Koko Lopez, so you're doing all of your work to play around it here. So,
what's actually pretty rough is if you move the merchant, then you have to discard your axe or your. So if you did want to get like the absolute most value out of your bushwhack plus axe, you literally have to like preemptively use them both. But then that gives Andrew full knowledge, and the game gets like, I don't know, it's almost over, right? So
yes and no, right? Because this bushwhack comes down, so does the spinning axe, but when he moves the traveling merchant, he gets to draw a card.
And you do get to draw a card off of the Conquer as well. So that is true.
Yeah.
So potentially 2 draws. It does limit the number of cards you can draw, though, right? Because now you can only draw units that cost 3 or less, or a Rasa. No, you could draw a battering ram, right? Because that you have 3 left and you've played 2. Okay, yeah, you could.
Yeah, I think you have to put this spinning axe here onto this traveling merchant, and then you send in the traveling merchant by itself into this battering ram, and he does have to pay the power cost, which he has not yet done so. There it is, off that Seal of Discord. So now he will be able to draw and find another card. It looks like it is a called shot. So
that would be an insane draw if he did draw that. All right.
All right.
So does trade, gets to keep the axe here for another combat. So he right now has access to 7, 8, 9, 12, 16, 19 power. So that's actually, obviously we know the rebuke, right? So we know that there is the rebuke, but other than the rebuke, it's a fight or flight. That's a really good draw. Ooh.
So he's going to pay the power here, but he is going to walk into a rebuke here.
Yeah, and I think it's a pretty clean. You just rebuke it and say, yep. So now you've used the rebuke. Now the axes are 6, so you have 10, 13. You only have 13 power, so that is not enough. If you do go fight or flight, yeah, you can actually fight or flight back the Rasa. And that does trade,
well,
right?
here you're going to go ahead and try and force whatever other interaction you have with your opponent. So you do need to use these spinning axes aggressively. Just equip it to the...
You think you just actually you're right. You probably just swing in one by one with the axes and say, I'm going to use all my power. It doesn't matter. I'm getting the most out of these possible. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you're either dead or you're not. So
Yeah.
at this point, it doesn't matter how many runes you have available.
Yep.
So going to go ahead and use the 9, and then there's the rebuke. So that is going to be the game.
Wow, he had double rebuke. I saw one. I didn't realize there were 2.
Yep. So
I mean, is there a world it's not game?
fight or flight plus 10 might is 16, and there is 19 on the side of Andrew's board here. So going to go ahead and recycle those 2 with the fight or flight, but yeah, just not going to be enough.
Yeah, really thinking about this one. I mean, it makes sense. This is potentially the last play of the game. Make sure there is not something you're missing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense to just play this Ezreal here. You do get to draw a couple more cards, so maybe he just wants to be able to find a couple of different cards and hopefully find himself like a Rasa or something like that. I think it might be more impactful than this fight or flight. So just going to go ahead and
Why is the
play the Ezreal, discard a card. He played the Bushwhack this turn.
No, he didn't. He discarded it off of the merchant.
No, he didn't.
Didn't
Played
he?
it. He played it.
Are you sure?
100%.
Okay. I believe you.
So does find himself 2 more cards, but 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, just doesn't have enough power. Going to go ahead and give out the handshake, and Andrew D is going to be the new winner here for this 25K. Absolutely incredible performance from both of these players, but unfortunately here for Koko Lopez in game number 2, wasn't able to find any called shots, and it really feels like that has kind of been the script for a lot of these players in this miracle matchup. If you don't find the called shots, you can't really find the win. And, well, he did play as well as he could, but, yeah, Andrew just had the early advantage, and, I mean, those Nocturnes just showcasing exactly what they could do.
Yeah, I mean, the Nocturnes were crazy, right? They kind of solo won the first game, and then game 2, it gave them some opportunities with, like, the ganking and stuff to actually...
Hello and welcome, everyone.
Sorry, go ahead. I was trying to do
They were
this.
able to close it out there and find the win. Yeah, that was a really high level match. I mean, a lot of back and forth and so much thinking. There were multiple points where I thought the game was over, and then it wasn't. Like, it very clearly wasn't. Like, that last turn, I was like, there's absolutely no way. And he actually got pretty close. Like, it was, what was it, 6 might away? 6 might away, and the top deck, the draws, I mean, they were live cards, which is good. Maybe if one was a called shot, I don't know. Maybe
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if the the tides had turned just ever so slightly differently, it would have been enough. But yeah, I mean, look, like you had talked about, the feigning of that Bushwhack forced Koko to play differently. He was expecting it to be that fight or flight, but it simply wasn't. So, he played that last turn differently, and I feel like if he played it different, I feel like there was a avenue to where Koko could have won that game if he just said, I can't play around fight or flight. I just have to hope that it's not that or a switcheroo. I have to hope that it's exactly Bushwhack and that there's actually nothing that my opponent can do to me. He might have been able to get there, but I mean, even the cards that he drew on that last turn through that Ezreal the second time, it just wasn't enough. And yeah, I mean, he needed to be able to play that Bushwhack to hopefully find himself something like a Rasa, and then a Rasa with the double spinning axes might have been able to get him there. 6 might for 1 power is great, and then being able to get an additional 3 power, at 12 power, it just unfortunately wasn't enough. And well, I mean, huge congratulations to Andrew there. Very phenomenally played. I mean, he played a ton of Draven mirrors to get to that finals.
Absolutely.
I think, played 3 of them, right? Top 16, top 8,
At least,
top 4.
not counting Swiss.
Just to get to the finals.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I mean, knows that matchup very well. And, was able to take it 2-0 here in the finals.
Yeah, absolutely. Very well played from both players. I mean, it was a very high-level gameplay, and if you are looking to learn to play at the top level, I mean, you should watch that match.
Yeah,
Go back and watch that. Absolutely.
So I think with that, we'll send it off to the BRB screen. I think if we come back, it will be with the winner here in the booth. We'll ask him a couple of questions, trying to do our best to ask the most important questions that we can. But yeah, again, huge congratulations to Andrew. Very well navigated. I mean, it's been a long day, and to continue to play at that level that he did, absolutely phenomenal player.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and potentially see you guys in a bit.
And we are back. We have the winner, Andrew
Andrew
Doe.
Doe. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely huge congratulations. I mean, he took down the most feared player of the tournament. He managed to make it all the way back to the finals, nearly got the back-to-back.
I wasn't discrediting. I didn't know. I really didn't know that. I promise you, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, he was an absolute house of a player, and I mean, huge congratulations to take him down in 2-0 fashion at that.
Yeah.
So game number one, it was very back and forth, but you had that pivotal turn where he kind of, I mean, he used the piercing lights to really take advantage of you, but you still managed to come back and overtake him. I think on that last turn, it's kind of a blur at this point. So what was going through your head? What were you playing around, and how'd you manage to figure it out?
To be honest, I might shout out a different game, which is my favorite game, Yu-Gi-Oh! Primarily Edison format. First, I want to give a shout out to Johnny and Michael for topping. There was a big Edison event in LA, and they both topped. Proud of them. You know, I'm proud of all my friends. I'm proud of everyone who does well, friends or not. You know,
Right.
I just do like the game. But I wanted to shout out Yu-Gi-Oh! For example, because when you mentioned why I was willing to take certain trades and like do certain things in that format specifically, or the game in general, you learn a lot about like just accepting trades, right? Like accepting like you can like swing out a monster out there and then like you don't care if it dies as long as your resources don't go, as long as your power cards don't go around. Like it's very bad that I'm saying is like cards like Heavy Storm, Brain Control, you know, power cards, or even in modern like your Ash Blossoms and Nibiru's, as long as they're not gone and all your little check, I call them check cards, all your little like weenie cards or like cards you don't really care about get destroyed, your opponent had to waste resources to play those cards, and sometimes they're a hefty cost. And you know for at least the rest of the game, it's going to be hard for them to get it back, or they might not get it back at all. So those are the reasons that you keep in mind. But like I said, when I didn't really tilt or anything like that because in the Draven mirror match, a lot of people don't realize this. They want to burn a lot of their ink. I don't know, their runes. Mm-hmm. But for me, how I played all like weekend, it's about like saving your runes. Like I'm a big believer in the more cards you can play, the more cards you would be able to play. And the more cards you would be able to play, the more like options you have compared to your opponent. You know, like I'm not a huge fan of like playing any card game or playing any game state where you're just playing one card pass, playing one card pass. That's why I like Miracles so much. You really get like an unlimited like plethora of options to play, and it's just really about like proper sequencing, learning the right trades, learning to make the right sacrifices, and like not being afraid of like letting your opponent get ahead. Because there was multiple times I've only been on stream twice in top 4 in the finals, but I would let them get ahead like so drastically, to the point where it's like they're almost like 4 or 5 points in before I finally start developing on board. It's just like you don't want to keep mitigating trades because you'll never win that way. Like you're burning things just to stay in the game when you know like your game plan isn't really to like trade back and forth. It's really to like develop and just go wider than them. So that's just kind of how I played it.
Okay. Yeah, great. Well, with that said, I mean, so what caused you to come into the Riftbound scene? Is this your first major tournament?
No. Well, I guess this would be my first Riftbound major tournament. I didn't get to play Vegas, so I just judged and just kicked it with the friends and stuff like that. I come from a pretty competitive TCG background. I play a lot of TCGs competitively, but this is like I really do love League of Legends. Like it helped me get through college and stuff like that. It helped me meet a lot of good friends. I play with my siblings and stuff on that. Shout out to Brian and Bree, my siblings, and even Darren stuff, and all my cousins. I will not be playing ARAM. I hate that. I hate Mayhem. I will only play ranked or solo, duo queue or flex. But yeah, I just really grew up like going throughout my college years. I really liked that game. I would spend like nights just spamming it, and it's just like it was a really intricate game. And that game translates well to the card game, where it's like, don't be afraid that they took Baron or Dragon early. Don't be afraid that like they're ahead in kills. Like don't tilt off that. Like there's multiple ways to win, and that's why I love this game so much. Because like I think it was game 1. My opponent had like 20-something might in one battlefield, but it's fine. Like I'm checking him on the other side of it. I don't need to interact with that battlefield at all. So there's so many ways to win that you don't have to like brute force your way into like a linear play style. And yeah, so this was I guess my first major. Happy I won. But no, all in all, the game's really fun, and I really do like League a lot. So
Awesome. So I guess just your love of League is what brought you here.
yeah, just the IQ for like I guess League and just video games in general and card games in general, and just like the community, right? Like the whole time everyone was pretty chill and stuff like that. Just being able to see people play their favorite. I mean, this one was a little different because it's not a best of, so everyone's spamming Draven, but
Yeah.
being able to like pick your favorite champ that you liked in League and like being able to represent it. Like for example, I think one of my brother's favorite champs is Azir, right? So he got into the game playing Azir. So like I'm really happy for that. Like he's not meta slaving Draven. So you know what I'm saying? Like me. I've never played Draven in the game, but like he's just too broken in the card game. So
That's fair. So okay, quick question for you then. What lane do you play?
I'm a jungler,
what's your
so
main-
you can
jungle?
see that it takes a lot of composure. But I mean, I used to be pretty toxic, but nah. But like when you play the jungle, you have to accept certain things, right? There's 3 lanes you have to worry about, and like most of the time for me, like my bot lane is getting smashed or my top lane is getting smashed. So it's like you kind of have to accept this might be bad logic because I'm kind of washed, but like when I was in my prime, like you have to accept sacking those lanes. Like don't try to gang them, they're behind, right? Like don't try to force a battlefield if you're not gonna win it. They clearly have a face down card, 20-something might. It's like don't even worry about interacting. Just keep calm, play your game. Farm or develop your board, and just try to get the pieces and try to get to the mid or late game. And that's basically, like I said, this is what this game transitions to. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, so any other quick shout outs you want to give before we head it off?
Yeah, obviously, shout out to my siblings. I mean, my sister was messaging me yesterday. She was like collecting Pokemon cards. So it's nice that TCGs like help really just keep people out of trouble. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't the straight A student, I guess you would say. Like, I was kind of a little rascal when I was younger. But it's nice that card games really get to, keep people off the streets and like help them do things that are very like productive and like at the same time they have fun, but they're not really getting in trouble and stuff like that. So
Absolutely.
so that's my siblings. Shout out to Dennis Nadas, Fetty Guap. I flew into Dallas, and then him and Brenna picked me up, and then we drove here. Shout out to Jake and the other homie for just all kicking it. Shout out, like I said, to all my, I wouldn't really call them Yu-Gi-Oh friends. They're actually my real friends. So, but they just play only Yu-Gi-Oh.
Sure.
So like, shout out to them for going out to LA instead, and then for topping and then doing really well. Yeah, let's hopefully, if I missed anybody, I apologize. Shout out for everybody who's rooting me on. I would like to not get hate that I categorize all you guys as that group of people that are rooting up for me. It's just too many in a name. So.
I mean, I feel that. So, all right. Well, with that, guys, we're going to head it off. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Oh, one more shout out.
Oh, go ahead.
Shout out to Alyssa Liu, the Olympic gold medalist.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, I don't know. She's like a cool. Like she's chill. Like just real quick. She's an inspiration, really, even though she's only 20. It's pretty cheesy to say, but like when she won Olympic gold, like she was just having fun out there in the ice ring. You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of the main thing. Is just I really just genuinely enjoyed this game, and each round and each game, I was just genuinely having fun. Like the game is just really cool. Like the interaction's nice, and it's just when you're not over stressing trying to win and stuff like that. Like I guess it comes to you more naturally. So
absolutely. Yeah. All right. Well, with that, guys, we are just gonna let it go for now. And again, one more congratulations to you, Andrew. Huge win, and we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.